Rebecca doesn't scream when Zied introduces his new wife. She doesn't throw anything. She doesn't beg him to explain. She doesn't even look at the other woman for very long. Rebecca slowly removes her wedding ring, places it on the table, and says, "You've already replaced me." And honestly, that quiet reaction is more disturbing than any screaming match could have been. Because in this fictional storyline, Rebecca isn't walking into a normal relationship argument. She is walking into a room where almost everyone appears to know something she doesn't. Zied's family looks uncomfortable. The unknown woman will barely speak. And Zied can't answer one simple question without looking towards someone else for help. Who is she? Zied hesitates. Then he finally says it. She is my wife. But that confession is not even the biggest betrayal. The real damage begins when Rebecca realizes this marriage didn't happen suddenly. There were clues. There were unexplained phone calls. There were family meetings. There was money Rebecca believed she was sending for one purpose that may have supported something completely different. And there is one detail on the new wife's wrist that Rebecca has seen before. So how long has this woman really been in Zied's life? Did his family help hide the relationship? Did Rebecca unknowingly pay for the apartment where this new marriage began? And why does Zied seem more upset about being exposed than about destroying two women's trust? This isn't just a secret wife storyline. This is about a man who may have told 3 different stories to 3 different sides, believing those stories would never meet in the same room. But now they have. When Zied arrives with the unknown woman beside him, Rebecca initially tries to stay reasonable. She assumes the woman might be a family friend or a relative she hasn't met. That explanation makes sense for about 5 seconds. Then Rebecca notices Zied's body language. He isn't relaxed. He doesn't introduce the woman naturally. He keeps looking down, giving short answers, and acting like he is waiting for someone else to start the conversation for him. That behavior matters because people often reveal the truth before they actually say it. Zied's nervousness tells Rebecca that this woman is not simply a guest. His family's silence tells her they already understand what is coming. And that creates the first major red flag. Rebecca is the only person in the room who appears unprepared. This means the gathering is not really a conversation. It is a controlled reveal. Zied has chosen the location, surrounded himself with family, and placed Rebecca in a situation where she has to process everything publicly. That puts her at an emotional disadvantage from the beginning. Zied may say he wanted support because he was nervous. But from Rebecca's point of view, it looks like he brought witnesses. He created a room where she would feel pressure to stay calm while he delivered a decision that had already been made without her. Then Rebecca notices the bracelet. The new wife is wearing something distinctive around her wrist, and Rebecca immediately recognizes it from a video call months earlier. During that call, Rebecca saw a woman's hand briefly appear behind Zied. The bracelet stood out. Rebecca asked who was visiting, and Zied told her it belonged to a cousin. At the time, Rebecca accepted that answer, because marriage requires some level of trust. You cannot investigate every sound, every shadow, or every person who walks through the background of a video call. But now that same bracelet is sitting right in front of her. Suddenly, an ordinary memory becomes evidence. This is where the storyline becomes more painful than a simple confession. Rebecca isn't only learning a new fact. She is being forced to replay old moments and ask herself which ones were real. That can be one of the most damaging parts of betrayal. The present hurts, but the past becomes unstable too. Those late-night calls Zied blamed on work now feel different. His sudden protectiveness over his phone feels different. The unexplained family meetings feel different. Even his repeated questions about whether Rebecca planned to stay in Tunisia begin to sound less like concern and more like research. Maybe Zied wasn't asking because he wanted to build a future with Rebecca. Maybe he was trying to calculate when she would leave. The new wife then says she has known Zied for almost a year. Zied quickly interrupts her and says the relationship only became serious recently. And that response is important because he doesn't deny knowing her. He argues over when it became serious. That is a common way people try to reduce a betrayal without denying the behavior. They focus on labels. They say, "We were only talking." They say, "It wasn't romantic yet." They say, "Nothing had been decided." But if the relationship had to be hidden, the label almost doesn't matter. Zied may not have lied about every conversation. He may have told Rebecca he was speaking with family, handling work, or helping someone. But partial truths can still create a complete deception when the missing information changes the meaning of everything else. Rebecca asks the new wife whether she knew Zied was married. The woman doesn't answer immediately, and that pause creates another question. Was she fully aware of Rebecca, Or did Zied tell her that the marriage was already ending? Did he describe Rebecca as his wife, his former partner, or simply someone who refused to accept that the relationship was over? The hesitation does not prove that the new wife knowingly entered a secret marriage. It only proves that her version of the story may also be incomplete. Then Zied's mother speaks. She says the family believed Rebecca already knew about the arrangement. That one sentence completely changes the direction of the confrontation. Up to that point, Rebecca might believe the family secretly helped Zied. But now it appears Zied may have lied to them too. According to his mother, Zied said Rebecca understood that their relationship had changed. He allegedly claimed the marriage had become more like a friendship and that Rebecca accepted his desire to build a different future. Rebecca immediately denies it. She admits the marriage had problems. There had been tension, distance, and serious disagreements. But struggling inside a marriage is not the same as agreeing to be replaced inside one. And this is where Zied's pattern becomes clear. He seems to have given each person the version of the truth that would create the least resistance. To Rebecca, he said they were still trying to repair the marriage. To the new woman, he reportedly said Rebecca was emotionally distant and preparing to return to America. To his family, he said Rebecca already understood the situation. That is not simple confusion. That is information management. Zied kept each side calm by making sure nobody had enough information to challenge him. Rebecca remained emotionally invested because she believed there was still hope. The new wife remained secure because she believed the first marriage was practically finished. The family stayed quiet because they believed Rebecca had accepted the outcome. Everyone behaved according to the story Zied gave them. The problem is that those stories cannot survive once everyone compares notes. Zied says he felt trapped by family pressure. He says he feared disappointing Rebecca. He says he worried she would leave if he told her the truth. But Rebecca immediately points out the contradiction. If he was afraid honesty would make her leave, then he already knew the truth could change her decision. That means he did not hide the marriage to protect Rebecca. He hid it to protect his access to Rebecca. There is a major difference. Zied wanted her emotional support, her financial help, and the security of knowing she was still available. At the same time, he wanted the approval and stability he believed a new marriage could provide. He was not choosing between two lives. He was trying to keep both lives open. As Rebecca listens, she becomes noticeably calmer. And that calm worries Zied. Anger can sometimes be redirected. A person can apologize, raise their voice, cry, or turn the conversation into another argument. But calm often means something more serious. It can mean the betrayed partner is no longer trying to save the relationship. They are collecting information before they leave. Rebecca asks to see the marriage document. Zied refuses. He claims the date is private and says showing it will only create more pain. But his refusal tells Rebecca that the date matters. Eventually, the new wife agrees to show her. The document reveals that Zied married her before a recent romantic trip he took with Rebecca. That detail destroys one of his strongest possible defenses. Zied cannot claim he thought the first marriage was emotionally over if he was still taking romantic trips with Rebecca and allowing her to believe they were reconnecting. He wasn't simply failing to end one relationship before beginning another. He appears to have been actively maintaining both. Rebecca thought that trip represented a fresh start. She may have viewed his attention, affection, and promises as evidence that their marriage still had a future. But if Zied was already married to someone else, then the trip takes on a different meaning. Was he saying goodbye without telling her? Was he trying to keep her emotionally attached? Or was he testing whether he could still return to Rebecca if the new marriage did not feel right? None of those possibilities make Zied look honest. But then Rebecca notices something even more damaging than the date. She recognizes the address listed on the document. It belongs to an apartment Zied claimed he was renting for a male relative who needed help. Rebecca had contributed money toward the rent. She also helped with furniture, repairs, travel expenses, and what Zied described as emergency family costs. Now she suspects that her money may have helped create a home for Zied and his new wife. This is the moment the betrayal changes from emotional to financial. Zied insists the apartment was originally meant for family use. He says the purpose changed later and that Rebecca's money did not directly pay for the marriage. But that explanation avoids the real question. When the purpose of the apartment changed, why didn't he tell her? Even if Rebecca's first payment was made before the secret relationship became serious, Zied continued accepting support while withholding information that would have changed her willingness to help. Financial betrayal is not always about stealing money directly. Sometimes it happens when someone receives money under an understanding they know is no longer true. Rebecca believed she was helping Zied's family. The new wife believed Zied was independently providing their home. Both women now realized the same apartment was presented to them through two completely different stories. And this is where the balance of power shifts. Rebecca entered the room feeling replaced. The new wife entered believing she had been chosen. But now both women appear to have been used to support Zied's version of himself. Rebecca asks the woman what Zied promised her. The new wife says he promised stability, loyalty, and a future without secrets. Rebecca almost laughs because Zied made nearly identical promises to her. That moment is far more interesting than a typical fight between two women. Instead of treating each other as enemies, they begin comparing what they were told. A weaker man in Zied's position would benefit from them blaming each other. As long as Rebecca attacks the new wife and the new wife defends her marriage, nobody is looking directly at the person who controlled the information. But once the women compare stories, Zied loses that protection. He becomes defensive. He says everyone is attacking him without understanding the pressure he felt. Pressure may explain why someone becomes afraid. It does not explain why they create multiple versions of reality. Zied had other choices. He could have told Rebecca the marriage was over. He could have refused Rebecca's financial help. He could have told the new woman the complete truth. He could have faced his family honestly. Every one of those choices would have been painful. Instead, he chose the option that delayed pain for himself and increased it for everyone else. Then the new wife asks him one question. Are you still in love with Rebecca? Zied goes silent. And that silence becomes an answer before he finally speaks. He admits that part of him still loves Rebecca. He says their history and sacrifices cannot simply disappear. The new wife is immediately humiliated. She asks why he married her if he remained emotionally attached to someone else. Zied says he believed the new marriage would help him move forward. He also admits that it would make his family happy. That explanation may be honest, but it is also deeply selfish. He treated marriage like a tool for fixing his emotional confusion. He did not enter the new relationship after fully accepting the end of the old one. He entered it hoping the commitment would force him to let Rebecca go. At the same time, he kept Rebecca close enough to avoid feeling her absence. This is not really a love triangle. A love triangle suggests three people openly competing for a relationship. This is one man avoiding a decision while two women carry the emotional cost. Rebecca tells the new wife she does not blame her for believing Zied. She says they were both given edited versions of the truth. The new wife steps away from him. That small movement changes the entire room. Zied expected Rebecca to be devastated, but he likely expected the new wife to remain beside him. Now both relationships are moving away from him at the same time. He turns to Rebecca and says he never wanted to lose her completely. Rebecca asks what he expected her to become. Was she supposed to remain his financial supporter? Was she supposed to become a hidden emotional partner? Was she supposed to accept the role of former wife while still being available whenever he felt confused? Zied cannot answer because any honest answer would expose the unfairness of what he wanted. Rebecca tells him that love without honesty becomes control. That may be the most important point in the entire storyline. Zied keeps describing his actions as fear. He was afraid Rebecca would leave. He was afraid his family would judge him. He was afraid the new woman would not accept the full situation. But every time he acted from that fear, he removed someone else's ability to choose. Rebecca could not decide whether to stay because she did not know the truth. The new wife could not decide whether to marry him with full understanding because she did not know the truth. His family could not decide whether to support the arrangement honestly because they did not know the truth. Zied made those decisions for everyone. Then he admits something that finally breaks Rebecca's remaining attachment. He says he believed she would eventually forgive him because she had forgiven serious problems before. That is the moment Rebecca realizes her loyalty was not only appreciated, it was measured. Every previous time she stayed became evidence that she might stay again. Every second chance became permission to push the boundary further. This is one of the most dangerous patterns in an unhealthy relationship. One partner begins treating forgiveness as proof that consequences are temporary. Rebecca does not argue. She walks into the bedroom and begins packing. Zied follows her and tells her not to make a permanent choice while emotional. Rebecca says she is not leaving because she is emotional. She is leaving because she finally has enough information. That distinction matters. People often dismiss a betrayed partner's reaction as impulsive because it allows them to avoid the facts behind the reaction. But Rebecca is not responding to one dramatic confession. She is responding to a bracelet, a hidden timeline, conflicting stories, secret paperwork, and questionable financial choices. The pattern is the evidence. Zied keeps apologizing, but every apology is followed by another defense. He says he felt trapped. He says he wanted to protect everyone. He says his family expectations were difficult. Rebecca tells him that a real apology should not require her to comfort the person who hurt her. That line exposes another pattern. Zied wants Rebecca to focus on why he did it instead of what it did to her. His fear becomes the center of the conversation. His confusion becomes the explanation. His pain becomes something Rebecca is expected to understand. But understanding someone's motive does not erase their responsibility. Zied says he was afraid of disappointing his family. Rebecca replies that he chose to disappoint her privately because he believed she would tolerate it. That is sharp because it explains why secrecy often targets the most loyal person. Zied may have viewed Rebecca as the safer person to betray because he believed she was less likely to walk away. But this time she does. She doesn't compete with the new wife. She doesn't ask Zied to choose. She doesn't demand that he prove whom he loves more. She simply stops participating. And that is what makes her reaction powerful. Rebecca cannot control whether Zied annuls the new marriage. She cannot control what his family believes. She cannot control whether the new wife stays. But she can refuse to remain inside a situation built without her consent. Zied offers to end the new marriage immediately. Rebecca rejects the offer. Because even if he ends it, the betrayal remains. The planning remains. The money remains. The lies remain. And most importantly, Zied's offer shows that he still thinks the solution is rearranging the women around him. He believes he can remove one person, restore the other, and somehow return everything to normal. But Rebecca is no longer asking to be selected. She is asking why anyone should trust his selection. Before leaving the room, Rebecca shows Zied a message she received earlier that day. It includes a photograph of him with a new wife and one warning. Ask him about the apartment. Someone inside his family sent it. Zied immediately wants to know who exposed him. And that reaction would likely become one of the biggest debates among viewers if this fictional storyline aired. Some fans would probably argue that Zied's first concern should be Rebecca's pain. Instead, his attention goes straight toward the person who broke the silence. A section of the audience might say this proves he regrets losing control more than he regrets the deception. Others might defend him by saying anger is a normal reaction when a family member shares private information. But that raises an important question. Was this really private information, or was it information being deliberately hidden from someone who had a right to know? Privacy protects personal boundaries. Secrecy prevents someone from making an informed choice. Rebecca was still emotionally and financially invested. She was not a stranger asking for gossip. She was the wife being asked to continue supporting a marriage while another marriage was already being built. A younger family member admits sending the warning. They say they could not watch Rebecca enter the gathering without knowing what was waiting for her. That confession divides the family.